Hello and welcome back to the third rail. We'll start at the bench today where we have another model from the backlog that had been accumulating at the beginning of the year when I took a little break. This one arrived as an unexpected delivery. Unexpected in the sense that I did not remember buying this thing. To cut a long story short, this is the result of a bit of late-night doom scrolling on eBay after a few too many alcoholic beverages. I had to dig in my emails to try and piece the sequence of events back together and also check there weren't other surprises on the way. I haven't done more than looking at the box, so today I'll be catching up on that task. Who knows, this might not be as bad as I fear. I am writing this as I go along, so I have no idea of what is expecting me at this stage. I'll sprinkle some trivia about the model and prototype here and there, and I am pretty sure the screwdrivers will also make an appearance at some point. If this sounds interesting, grab a cup or glass of the poison of your choice, sit back, and make yourself comfortable. All right, let the show begin. First thing first, here is a copy of the listing picture. Yes, this was the only photo, and the description simply stated, Märklin HO3610 locomotive in very good condition. Pretty minimalistic listing, isn't it? I would normally not buy, let alone consider anything like that. And if that wasn't bad enough, the price was also way too high. At a minimum, £30 to £40 too much. Good thing that the drinks were free. But despite the alcohol, a bit of logic was at play, as I needed this version of the model for the collection. The item was also located in the UK, so the lower postage costs made up for a tiny part of the excessive pricing. The scene is set. Back to the bench. So, I have already fixed the box with some tape to avoid handling incidents. This is indeed Märklin 3610, released in 1985 as part of the launch lineup for the unveiling of Märklin Digital. Here is the 1985 catalogue. Look at this Intercity Experimental. Our model is on page 66 here. All the digital launch models were based on existing analog references, in this case the 3310, which had been released just a year earlier. I'll switch to the 1984 catalogue quickly. There we are. This cover should bring back a few memories too. And 3310 is here, with a new mention in bold letters. We have the price list. Let's see how much it costs then. 262 Deutschmark. The inflation calculator says it should be the equivalent of about 290 euros today. For comparison, let's check something similar. Say this 3085. That was just over 10 years old at the time. It went for 184 marks 30. Or just over 200 of today's euros. Models weren't much cheaper in the old days, were they? Back to 1985. The models are cosmetically the same, but the digital version has a different running number according to the description. The picture in the catalogue is of model number 3310. This running number business is something Märklin did for all the digital launch model lineup, with the exception of the Intercity Experimental, for the simple reason that there was only one train set in real life. Compared to the analog version, 3610 would have set you back another 40 Deutschmark roughly, so a total price of 300 Deutschmark or 333 euros today, according to my inflation calculator. Okay, let's take the model out of its box. Look at this massive-looking thing. It is a bit dirty, but otherwise the condition doesn't seem too bad. I got the 3310 out for comparison. See, the models look the same, with the exception of the running numbers. 3610 has the number 012 066-7 and is registered in Ulm. 3310 has the number 012 081-6 and is registered in Rheine. The choice of numbers wasn't random. The prototypes were among the last unit withdrawn just a decade earlier in 1975. Both were immediately acquired by enthusiasts. 012-081-6 ended up as a monument in Bad Münster am Stein, where it still was at the time of the Märklin release. And 012-066-7 was acquired by the UEF, a preservation society based in Ulm, where it was kept operational and took part in many events over the years. It is probably the most photographed member of the class. At the time of release, the prototype had just been overhauled and reacquired its original running number 01-1066. It has been operating under this number to this day. But if this preservation story wasn't enough, the class itself was something special. In the mid-1930s, the Deutsche Reichsbahn decided it needed faster locomotives for some of its express services, with a maximum speed of 150 km per hour and the ability to pull a 500-ton train at 120 km per hour on the flat. This was something the existing BR001 and BR003 would have struggled to achieve, so a new design was commissioned. The design work benefited from the experience gained during the development of the BR05. A BR03 had been used in the process to test the effects of streamlining, which had shown a 50% reduction in air resistance, but testing also showed that the BR03's two cylinders caused some jerking at high speeds. Based on this, the decision was made to procure streamlined locomotives based on a smoother three-cylinder design. Due to differences of load capacity on the Reichsbahn network, two versions were developed, the 18-ton axle load BR03.10 and the heavier BR01.10 with a 20-ton axle load, the initial incarnation of our prototype. This is how it looked when it entered service. Look at that. It looks like a UFO just landed. Even the tender is streamlined. 204 BR01.10 were initially ordered, but this was scaled back due to war priorities. In the end, 55 units entered service between 1939 and 1942. The lower part of the locomotive cladding was fitted with doors to allow access to the wheels for checks and maintenance. These doors proved to be quite troublesome as they were prone to vibrating, causing their screws and bolts to loosen and drop off. This became such a problem that this area was redesigned to expose the wheels. This modification started to be implemented on BR01.10s in 1943. How far the exercise went is not known to me, but I think it is fair to assume that it was never completed, as the war was taking its toll. Some depots even resorted to improvisation. The war also meant that maintenance was kept to the bare minimum, and the effects soon started to show. In 1944, all BR01.10 were moved to the west of Germany, and at the end of the war only 10 units were still operational. The fleet was in such a state that the Reichsbahn, now under Allied control, ordered the withdrawal of the entire class in 1945. The locomotive shortage soon changed that, and a few units were overhauled and returned to service. In the process, the streamlined cladding was removed entirely on tenders and partially to expose the wheels on locomotives. But the vast majority of the class remained parked until 1949. That year, the newly established Bundesbahn decided to return the BR012 fleet to service. All bar one units were refurbished, the entire streamlined cladding was removed, and small Witter-type smoke deflectors were fitted to the boiler. Between 1953 and 1956, all units were retrofitted with new boilers, as the steel used on the original ones was prone to corrosion. This problem was endemic across most classes of Reichsbahn standard locomotives. The new boilers provided a boost of 10% in steam generation. Between 1956 and 1957, 34 units were converted to oil firing, which improved their performance as well as the elasticity of their controls. These units are recognizable by the distinctive shape of their oil tender. The BR012 was in service on all important main lines in West Germany until electrification. In 1968, the class was renumbered. The opportunity was used to differentiate based on the type of fuel, with class BR011 for coal and class BR012 for oil-fired units. By that point, the classes 011 and 012 had been concentrated in the Hamburg and Rheine depots, and the withdrawal process had just started. This was a very slow process, as the last units were withdrawn as late as 1975. As we have already seen earlier, our two prototypes were preserved, but quite a few other units still exist today in various states of conservation. I have put a link to a list in the video description. This completes the mini high-level overview. You'll find links to the sources used to compile it, as well as photo credits, in the video description down below, as usual. Alright, let's go back to our model. Let's start with a quick test. I'll apply some power. Nothing. This thing is dead. Well, let's have a closer look then. Starting with the chassis. The pickup shoe has seen better days. I'll check the wheels. This axle is free, the next one too, and so is the last one. Looking at the front truck, the first axle is seized, the other one is free, and at the back, the axle is free. The tires still have a tight grip on the wheels. Everything feels free on the tender. All the wheels on the locomotive need a clean, but they don't look too bad overall. Right, I think I'm going to start by swapping the pickup shoe to see if it changes anything. Let me grab a spare one. Okay, out with the old and in with the new one. Now, let's try the model on the track again. Hey, that was easy. Okay, let's have a look inside. The body is held by a single screw located in the center of the chassis. So I loosen it and the body simply lifts off. We can see that the contact for the smoke unit is hanging a bit low. I think it might have got stuck on the light diffuser the last time it was put back together. Luckily, this didn't go short, so I shall bend it back to roughly the right shape. I think that'll do for now. Otherwise, the model is still in its original configuration by the looks of it. We have a 3-pole universal motor with its windings. From the cover plate, we can see it is a drum collector motor with the 2 graphite brushes. That's the DCM motor in Märklin lingo. At the front, we have a bulb and a contact for a smoke unit I already fiddled with. The decoder is located in the tender. Let's have a look to see whether it is still the original one. The tender body is just clipped on this model, so it is just a matter of gently prying one side off, and the rest of the body will follow. There we go. We'll put the weights to the side. This reveals the original Märklin digital decoder. I think the type is C80. We also have tail lights on this model, hence the bulb. The lighting is directional but can only be activated in digital. Well, everything looks okay in there, so I shall put the tender back together. I'll have a look at the motor next. I'll remove the brushes. They still have plenty of life in them. They are basically new. Now the screws. I lift the cover plate and we are in. Things look pretty good in here. I'll need to do some basic cleaning. A simple quick wipe will do. I'll grease the ends of the armature and I'll put everything back together. Quick test. We are still operational. We have a bit of wheel slip without the weight of the body here. I won't worry about that just yet, but the loco might need new tires after all. Now let's take care of the stuck wheels. I'll just free the axle by applying a bit of pressure. Then I'll add a drop of oil, bit of back and forth, and we are back in business. Then I'll clean all the wheels next and finish with a bit of lubrication on all axles. And I'll put the body back on. That's it, we're done. I'll send the locomotive around the main line quickly. Everything seems to be behaving itself, so that's good. We have no headlights because it is a digital only function with this decoder. I'm not sure whether it is the same with smoke. Let's check. I'll fit a smoke unit. I shall be right back. So that's all installed. On the inside loop we have the analog model. I'll put a bit of fluid in it, then give it a reverse pulse, and we get a puff of smoke. The recommended unit in the catalogue is Märklin 7226 for both models. I have fitted the equivalent Zoiter 10 or Soother 10 in English. Now let's do the same on the digital version, also in analog on the outside loop. Quick reverse pulse. And we have smoke. So the unit is active in both digital and analog modes. Alright. And here it is on the move. So we are just missing the lights in analog. They are directional. Let's move the analog version and reverse. See, we have A-shape lighting at the back. And at the front, you can't see it well, but it's there. Okay, let's do a small digital test for size. I'll get my controllers. I have the late 80s version. At the time of release, the central unit and the throttle were two distinct devices, and the throttle only offered a single switchable function equivalent to what is known as F0 today, so the lighting. The additional functions became available in 1988-89 with the release of the Panorama coach with the moving waiter, I think. Anyway, so I'm going to hook this up. I hope the controllers still work. I haven't used them for maybe 10 years. I'm going to disconnect the outer loop transformer from the track and connect the digital controller instead, and I'll use the transformer's lighting circuit for power. It should be good enough for the test. One moment, please. And we are back. We are all set. The first transformer is deactivated. Let's check that quickly. See, the locomotive on the outer loop doesn't move. The inner loop is still working as before, controlled by the second transformer. I'm going to send the loco there out on the track. Now, let's key in the address and switch the digital controller on. We have smoke, plenty of it. And we are moving. We now have two modes of operation cohabiting. Magic! And so simple, as the outer and inner lines were already isolated and I didn't need to make any changes to my accessories. Exactly how Märklin intended it to work. Now, let's finally switch these damn headlights on. Are they working? Let's wait for the locomotive to reach the ramp. Yes. And now that it's back, let's check the tail lights. I'll stop and reverse. Yep, all fine. Super! Let me get some coaches out so we can watch a bit of traffic to finish the video. And we are back. On the inner loop, we have a messy train composed of a mix of Silberlinge and pre-war express cars. I have put references in the video description. And on the outer loop, something a bit more unified with Umbauwagen. Now, as I was setting this up, I noticed something some of you might have been screaming at your screen about for the last 10 minutes. The cab of the locomotive is damaged. I noticed the windows had come unglued, and it is only when I was putting them back in place that I noticed the steps were missing on that side. Look at that. That is unrepairable. And this was under my nose all this time. No wonder this listing only had one picture. What a dishonest seller. I'll update my search filters on eBay to exclude any of his items in the future. But in the end, I only have myself to blame here, for the reasons mentioned at the beginning. That should teach me a lesson. Right, let's switch to a bit of traffic to finish the video. And there we are. Look at it climbing up the ramp. The tires seem to be good enough for the Umbauwagen. Well, mixing alcohol and eBay is really a bad idea. I wouldn't recommend it. But this locomotive is still operational and a good runner by the looks of it. Shame, really. Given my location, it will likely be cheaper to buy another loco as a replacement rather than source parts. I have spent too much on this model already. This said, it gave us a chance to look at topics I don't generally cover on this channel. I hope you found this interesting. Okay, that will be it for today. If you have made it that far, you have been very brave. Thank you very much for spending so much of your valuable time with me today. I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, please let others know with a little thumbs up, a comment, or a subscription. And if you'd like, you can also contribute to the upkeep of the collection by buying a super thanks. Thanks again so much for all your support. Until next time, bye for now.